Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to the October 16, 2023 meeting of the City of Tuscaloosa Planning and Zoning Commission. This meeting allows for alternative participation in order to accommodate all citizens. Any written comments sent to staff were forwarded to the commission directly. At this time, I'd like to introduce our staff. We have Hudson Cheshire, Assistant City Attorney, Michael Gardner, Acting City Engineer, Zach Pons, Director of Planning, Haley Webb, Development Review Coordinator, Lily McIntyre, Special Projects Coordinator, Mike Duncan, Technical Support Specialist. There are 9 members of the Planning Commission, all of them are appointed by the mayor for staggered terms, with the exception of the City Council representative who is appointed by the City Council. I ask the Commission members to introduce themselves and state their occupation. Begin, Mr. Rumsey.
Stephen Rumsey, business owner.
Dina Prince, attorney.
Tim Harrison, general contractor.
Estella Hare, finance.
Ann Hornsby, attorney.
Bill Wright, business owner. There are sign-up sheets outside for public comment. 4 speakers are allowed to speak in favor of a petition, and 4 are allowed to speak in opposition of a petition. All speakers will have a maximum of 5 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. The commission will take up items in the order of our final agenda. The commission will initially receive a presentation from the staff as to the details of the agenda item. Additionally, we may hear certain matters involving the same property, such as an annexation and a zoning matter concurrently, although we will take separate votes on each matter involving the same property. After the staff presentation, we'll then call upon the petitioner to present their case. The petitioner will have a maximum of 10 minutes unless the commission allows a longer time. At the conclusion of the petitioner's remark, we'll then call on any party or who signed up, who opposes, and those will be called on that signed up are in favor of. When it's your turn for the comment, please introduce yourself, stating your name and address to the commission to provide your remarks. Any written comments have been included into the record. After receiving the remarks of those who oppose the petitioner will have the opportunity to respond to those objections. Any rebuttal will be limited to 2 minutes unless the commission votes to allow a longer time. If the petitioner presents any new information in response to the objections, we will allow those who oppose the opportunity to respond to the new information only. Any response will be limited to 2 minutes. During the course of this presentation, you may be interrupted by any member of the commission for clarification or additional information. Such interruptions will not reduce your allowed time. Once the commission members are satisfied they have received all relevant information, it will then close further by discussion by the public, at which time the commission members will discuss the matter and then vote. After the vote, you are free to leave. These proceedings are video recorded and broadcast live. All in-person public comments should be made at the podium into the microphone. Comments made by phone or virtually are video recorded through the conferencing application. Please first state your name and address for the record. Jurisdiction. In all matters pertaining to subdivision regulations, approval of subdivisions within the city and its planning jurisdiction, and as to amendments, planned unit developments, and located outside the city limits, this commission serves as the final authority. As to matters pertaining to historic buffer zone construction, our decision is subject to appeal to the City Council. As to all remaining agenda matters, including original zonings, rezonings, planned unit developments within the city, and street vacations, this commission serves as a recommending body to the City Council. In that regard, our decisions are in the form of a recommendation to be presented to the City Council, and the City Council will make the final decision on those matters. Subdivision approval requires the affirmative vote of 6 members of the Planning Commission. All matters which are recommendations to the City Council require a majority vote for an affirmative recommendation. Do any members of the Commission have any conflicts of interest as to any agenda matters before us tonight? If so, please state for the record. Having heard none, I would ask the staff to confirm on the record that proper notice has been given to all parties in interest as required by law as to all matters before the Commission tonight.
It has.
Thank you. With that, we will begin with approval of the minutes. As the Planning and Zoning Commission has received the synopsis for the September 2023 meeting, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the same unless there are any deletions, additions, or corrections. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, minutes are approved. Okay. Guess we'll begin staff with the consent agenda. All right. Commission before us, we have consent agenda PS 6823. Has anyone signed up for or against?
No.
Does anyone in the audience care to comment on the consent agenda matter before us? Having heard none, Commission have PS 6823, resurvey of lots 9, 10, Peninsula subdivision. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it.
Foster House. And then jumping into our cases to be heard, we have a companion case consisting of a rezoning and a subdivision. We'll begin with the rezoning, which is Z1623. Mike Hicks is petitioning to rezone approximately 9.5 acres located at 202 25th Avenue Northeast from R2 to R4, and this is in Council District 5. This was continued from last month. Here's the vicinity map. So we are over near Alberta, just north of the Gateway Center, in between Kicker Road and 25th Avenue. Those roads both lead you down to Jack Warner. Here's an aerial view of the property and the existing zoning. They're surrounded by R3, R1, and BGO. Here's an overview of the site plan and the reason for this rezoning. This is for a townhome and duplex development. And then to the south, there is a church on the corner. And then to the west, there's an existing single-family residential neighborhood. And on the screen is a picture of the existing street. It's First Street Northeast that ends with a curb cut. And again, this is to rezone to R4 to allow for the construction and use of townhomes and duplexes. And that site plan again for reference. Here are some elevations of existing townhomes that they are wanting to mimic. These are along 12th Avenue downtown, right near the Y Center. So these are the intended look. Looking at Framework, this does not fully conform to Framework's plan. Framework identified this as traditional neighborhood edge, and then throughout this, there's a theme of connectivity. And so the plan on our screen and the plan that they have submitted does not fully connect to First Street Northeast, which is that existing right-of-way. Also throughout traditional neighborhood edge, it calls out primarily single family, but they do have that multifamily feel, which is what we could see with townhomes. And they do also have a park included on the site for that open space element. And then here's the future land use character map. They are surrounded by traditional neighborhood edge. And here are the permitted uses within R4. Jumping into the subdivision, we have S7023. This is Presidential Village, and it's consisting of 26 townhome lots, 4 duplex lots, and 3 open space lots. This says 9.14 acres, but I do believe it's 9.5, and we're in the same location. Here's that vicinity, aerial, and the plat to review. And here is the plat with improvements showing those townhome lots. But we'll zoom in, look at the entrance, accessing off of 25th Avenue. You have a row of 9 townhomes with an open space, the playground to the south of them. They're also proposing to dedicate that alley along the rear, or to the north of the screen on here. And the street will be dedicated as right-of-way as well. And then towards the rear of the development on the southern portion of the screen are the duplex lots. And then to the north, we have more townhomes for a total of 36 townhome lots. Then there are 4 duplex. Then along the left or the western portion of this plat, they have a proposed barricade showing where they will not be connecting to First Street Northeast. And then they will be requesting a variance from lot configuration for those open space lots. Any questions for staff?
Not at this point.
Okay.
Petitioner.
Mike Hicks of Herndon Hicks Associates, 2728 Lurleen Wallace Boulevard, Northport. The petitioner would like to table the subdivision plat but present the rezoning petition.
Mike, this body's always been pretty, we hate rezoning things, and we don't know what's going to be built there. In this case, we know what's going to be built there based on your subdivision request.
Right.
And I think this body, it would be very hesitant just to rezone it to the R4, the unknown of what could be built there.
Well, that's,
So let me stop you real quick. I'm going to try to speed this thing up a little bit.
all right.
There are two issues that this body has and staff has. One being there's a need for a traffic study, right?
Right.
And we know we're going to have to get that to LDP level at the latest, right? And the other issue is we're big on connectors. There's a connector street there to First Street Northeast. And I'm concerned about setting a precedent of not doing that in this case. Now, I know that's not that you're being guided by someone else on that.
I know, but the precedent was set at the towns, was it not?
Now,
What's that?
It was done at the towns, and it was done a while back, but we felt like we made, we felt like it was not the right thing to do moving
We were
forward.
trying to appease the neighbors partially here because they really are
we get that, but you know what? That's a fight that can happen at the next level. That's a political battle. But I think from our standpoint, this body's worried about setting precedent. And so,
You know, you can chime in, Dana, but in items of, you know, when you talk about precedent on property cases, there is no piece of property that's identical to another. So you can argue that really precedent doesn't exist because each and every piece of property has a unique characteristics. So if you could have two identical pieces of property, you would have precedent. But I'm not saying that I'm against what they're doing or anything like that. I'm just saying that I want to be. The reason I bring it up, Tim, is next week, we may have. I've seen these situations where the neighbors, they get in a room and they all agree, but our code says something different.
Right.
And I don't want to pin myself down to the future just because of this so-called precedent. So that's kind of how I feel about that.
Well, I would say it's more consistency than precedent, to be legalese about it a little bit. So, I mean, it's not that we don't want to be bound by it. We wouldn't be because of the things that Mr. Rumsey and others said, but we do want to be consistent. And it just opens up, an R4 designation, all sorts of things can be.
Well, go back to what's
there.
what's allowed, because it kind of went through that pretty quick. Because if you rezone it, then you can do any of these things, right? So we want, if they do it, then we want them to do what they're saying. Is that correct? So
Well, we like to know what it's going to be. If you're going to put up,
why do
a
you
mobile home
want to
subdivision,
drop
then-
the other one?
Well, there was an issue with the traffic study, which hadn't come back yet.
I guess from our standpoint, Mike, we want understanding what's going to be built there is a lot of things can happen in between. The economy can change and the whole world could change, and by the time the second half of this project got ready, it might not work for the developer, and they may have to get rid of it, and we're left with a piece of property that we got to deal with that can put some things on the next neighborhood that we wouldn't like, we wouldn't do. So that's our concern. I think what Chairman's trying to do is help get you to a point where you can move this thing along if it's functional for you.
Okay.
And those are the traffic study and the connectivity. So those are things that y'all might.
Sure, okay.
but we can't
We
hear
can't hear
you. So just state for the record, Mike, what you're.
We'd like to go ahead and present the preliminary plat. And I do have an option, I show an option on the plat where the street would connect,
Well,
and we'll,
okay, maybe people don't like the word precedent, but I agree with, we don't want to be caught in a situation where we're constantly doing this. But I think we can get it to the point where the next level of approval can
yeah,
fight that battle.
Okay, but we would
We know the
still-
traffic study's gotta be done. That
Yeah.
has to be done. That's checked off the box, right?
Okay,
All right, but the other issue, we just think it's consistent with connector streets, and that's what this body wants to be, is consistent.
sure.
So if you got it on there, put it on there, great, and if the other powers that be don't want it, then that's a fight between you and that body.
Okay,
And Mike, quite honestly, having that connector will help you with your traffic issues that you have.
Gotta take off some pressure off of access and,
right. Although you're
Yeah.
limited what you can do northbound anyway, the railroad bridge is
Right.
right there, so.
the concern was from engineering was having to do a left-hand turn into that subdivision right at that bridge point. That'd be hard to pull off, I believe. And I guess the traffic study will tell us all that when that's done, correct? Engineer, you got any comments? You support, our staff, you support what we're talking about here?
Well, I think the results of the analysis of the traffic study should point to a couple of things. One is the access to 25th, the proximity of the bridge to the proposed entrance. If left turn movements are deemed required, this development then has a tremendous challenge because that would be widening a bridge, and that may kill the project on its own. It should address also the question of the connectivity in the traffic study as well. And those are things I think that, I know engineering's going to need to know in the approval process moving forward for permitting.
Can you go back to the drawing now? I just want to look at some of the things.
The plat.
Go- yeah, okay. So the reason the traffic study is because of this turn into the entrance up here?
Well, so 25th is a collector street. It's a high-volume road. One of the things that the traffic study is going to do is look at what are those residents going to do, leaving in the morning and coming home in the afternoon. If the predominant movement is for the people coming home in the afternoon is to be going north, cross the bridge and turn in, without a left turn lane, then they're going to stop traffic. There is no way to get around that car waiting to make that left-hand turn. Conversely, there may need to be a need for a right turn decel lane to get the slowing cars out of the flow of traffic, and those are the things that the report should address.
There's not an aerial photograph of this, is there?
Not a railroad. So the bridge goes over, okay.
How many bedrooms? I know we've got 27 units.
3 bedrooms per unit, 3 bedrooms.
That's a lot of cars.
You know what that is? Steve, you know what that is?
So you're worried about people pulling out and turning left,
Paper
Mike?
Mill Road, what we call
other words-
Paper Mill Road, okay.
In other words, people pulling out of the neighborhood and going north,
30 lots.
is that your concern?
30 lots.
Because
No,
people,
not so much that, because that'll be a condition where that person leaving the neighborhood will be waiting till there's an open spot for him to turn out into the flow of 25th, whether he wants to go north or south. I'm more concerned about keeping the traffic flow on 25th moving while a car's waiting to turn left into the neighborhood or get out of the flow of the traffic to turn into the neighborhood if he's headed south.
Because it will completely block that street.
Yeah, then we've got congestion on 25th that's unnecessary because we didn't provide the right improvements.
I understand. Thank you.
so there's not room for a turn lane, is what you're saying?
I don't think you can do it without widening the bridge.
Oh, I see, okay.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Mike, I think someone has signed up.
Yeah, someone that signed up in favor of.
Again, anybody, you want to say anything else, Mike, before we,
No,
you want to hear? Okay, we do have someone who did sign up to speak in
Okay.
favor of, I believe.
It looks like a Mr. Michael Valentine.
Michael Valentine. I'm a business owner, property off of 44th Street. Now, this was for the Cypress Creek Cove.
I'm sorry, had the wrong, I'm sorry, apologize. Wrong case. Had me confused.
So no one did sign up?
No.
I was looking all over this map. I was like,
All right,
I see 24.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, so no one did sign up to speak for or against. Anyone in the audience care to speak for or against this petition? Okay, questions?
I have a question. I need a refresher. Okay. This is not a PUD, so let's assume that we vote to rezone it, the city council votes to rezone it, and we approve the subdivision with or without what has been talked about thus far. We still don't have any recourse if in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, whoever owns this property decides, I don't want to build those townhouses or duplexes. I think I'm going to put in as many apartments as I can get in there. I mean, we don't have any kind of recourse.
Well, we'd have a new subdivision to approve, right?
Well, I know, but I mean, if we approve, I'm saying if we do approve everything, if we do approve the rezoning, if we do approve the subdivision, if the city council approves the rezoning, then, you know, there's,
Let's get a legal and staff.
Yeah, that's accurate. So they have a year to basically move forward on that preliminary plat if it's approved. But the rezoning would stay in place if
Right,
it was
that's
approved
what-
by
yeah.
county.
Okay, so what do you do with a piece of property if you don't let them go out first? You don't let them go out 25th? It's on what now? I mean, in other words, what can you do with it?
Yeah, so it's zoned R1 today, or
So-
2,
so
R2 today. So, I mean, the single-family home that has been sitting there currently, clearly that's not going to cause traffic issues. And the R2 is obviously a lower density district, and so you're not going to have as many cars going in and out of that.
But if let's say they put in 10 houses, would you feel the same about the turn, Mike, or is it the amount of volume you're concerned about? In other words, are you saying statistically it becomes a problem with more cars, or is there a number of houses they could build in here that would make you come?
So I think there's a number of houses, and when you reach that point, then if the traffic study would say, at this point, you need to make improvements on 25th. What that number is, I can't tell you, whether it's 10, 5, or 20. Obviously, I think the lower the density in here, then the likelihood of needing an improvement on 25th lessens.
So if you had 10 houses, maybe the neighborhood wouldn't care if they drove through?
Yeah, well, you know, the way the traffic consultant's gonna look at it is the amount of the amount of movements that are gonna try to get on 25th. And if that's a very low number, then the need doesn't arise. It's just like when we
Well,
add
maybe
on-
my first question should have been, is that a stub-out street or just a dead end? Is it stubbed out? Hey, one of these days, we've just got to, you know, because I've seen this go back and forth over the years. We almost need to come up with I mean, I know we have policy, and we talk about policy, and then what happens is you get this neighborhood and they don't want it, and you get the developers and they don't want it, and you go, why would we force it if neither party wants it, okay? But we keep putting it in our policy because land planners go to school all their life and they get told that we need connectivity. And so we have these two conflicting deals that go on against the policy that we have and what planners tell us are what's best for our community. Maybe there's a number of houses, in other words, we keep finding ourselves in this badminton game. And to some degree, we don't mean to, but we're picking winners and losers. And I don't know if we can hem up the policy. In other words, if there were 12 houses, would we be okay with sending them down the street, First Street Northeast? Or is it that the fact that there's 30 houses maybe that we think that we're overwhelming the neighborhood? Is that kind of where it stands? Or I don't know. I mean,
It seems like every neighborhood doesn't want cars coming through their neighborhood.
nobody does.
But yeah, but in reality, they'd probably use the access up
Yeah.
to 25th more than anybody.
Well, how far they cut through my neighborhood all the time, we don't know who's who, but I don't know, I'm just saying, we almost need to call maybe one of those meetings that's not here, or we need to discuss this, because this isn't gonna go away. I mean,
Well, we do have a case that we need to move on.
All right, so it's just the rezoning, right?
but
They've continued the subdivision, or
no, they-
or is that, did
No,
it get confused?
They're agreeable to going with the subdivision as well. They want us to take both cases. They first wanted to withdraw the subdivision, but we
Okay.
feel like it's beneficial to the city and them to go ahead and do both with contingency on the fact that, one, we would prefer the connector to First Street Northeast, and knowing that the traffic study will be coming before the LDP process, that will be a part of the approval process. I think we're in a place where it's really gonna be okay to approve it, but it is gonna meet a few more hurdles.
I'm gonna have a problem voting on the rezoning. I don't think I can vote to rezone it to R4 if there is a possibility that because of whatever factors come up, maybe even the developer decides this is not feasible for the subdivision, but we've already sent the rezoning up to the city council.
well, that would be like us just rezoning something on our own motion, and we wouldn't just jump out of a cake and do that and subject the community to 40 things that could happen on this property that they don't expect today, right? Or that wouldn't be reasonable. Or if we just rezone it, that whole list of things can go on.
That's the dilemma.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
always
whatever
one of
y'all,
those.
you know.
Yeah,
But
that's-
we don't, but we rarely rezone a piece of property without knowing what's going on, do we, or do we?
We prefer to have known what's gonna occur. But I guess every case could be that situation where
It would.
we do a rezoning of subdivision or a PUD, and the next thing you know, they're still out there.
But we're usually looking at the worst-case scenario and agreeing to it.
Yeah.
Well, it's just, I'm torn a little bit too, just because, you know, when we put contingencies on several contingencies on things without sort of sending it back to the drawing board and rethinking the whole thing, it puts a burden on staff, and it can create sort of, maybe they can come up with a contingency that fits what we defined, but that doesn't really work in some other way. I don't know.
I think what you guys could look at is, if you were to approve the subdivision or recommend approval for the rezoning, it could be contingent on a connection based off of the traffic study. If the traffic study requires a connection, then that would be what, you guys would be recommending essentially is that connection to happen. Otherwise, if the traffic study comes back and says there is no connection required, then that could be your,
Well,
that
that's
would
what
be.
I'm saying, that it's all contingent upon those things, but at least this body states what we'd like to see. That was our being consistent comment.
Sorry.
Good wording. I mean, I hear what Ms. Prince is saying, but that's, like we said a minute ago, that's every case.
So if this other parcel north was purchased one day and the entrance was down the road, it wouldn't bother you as much. The fact that it's near the bridge is causing you angst, right?
I think
Or would it stop, or would it back up cars either way?
it would back up cars either way. If this entrance was proposed 400 feet from this bridge, then the expense of creating a left turn lane is nominal, I would say, compared to the overall development, but to widen that bridge would probably cost twice as much as it's going to cost to develop that property. The magnitude of the expense to do it. I guess if the traffic study comes back and says that a left turn lane is required, then the developer has some options to look at to maybe eliminate that need. Now, I don't know what those options would be.
No one, petitioner, have any more comments based on what you're hearing discussed? We haven't closed it yet, but we're real close.
Mark Booth, 1217 Greensboro Avenue. Ms. Prince, your question you asked, is I understand exactly what you're saying. But if we do this, it's rezoned, and for some reason, it's not cost-effective to do it, it would have to come back before this body for a rezoning, for a new approval on a zoning, on a variance or whatever we applied for then. If somebody else applied for it later, or I did, it's because the project does not work based on all the information we have. I don't have a problem connecting to First Street Northeast. I was just trying to appease the neighbors, but, that's a public right-of-way and it's designated, so that road's supposed to go somewhere. So, if we have to entrance off Kicker Road and through that neighborhood, I don't have a problem with that. Ideally, it's best to come off 25th Avenue or both. But, I think what your question, if I heard you correct, your question was, y'all say you approve the rezoning today, the Planning Commission does, and also the preliminary plat, that after we do let's say we do an LDP and it's just not feasible and we just scrap the project and it sits there for a couple of years, well, then somebody's got to come back, myself or whoever I'd sell it to, and say, okay, how can we make this a feasible property to do something else on? So it's still got to come back to you. It can't just, it's either got to be done as it's drawn, or it's got to be represented in a new proposal. Is that right, Mr. Wright?
Well, but
If we rezone it, you can put anything on that property that's listed in the zoning ordinance.
they'll have by
And I'm not
right.
saying
by-
that's bad,
But-
I'm just
right.
saying.
But a high-rise apartment's not gonna handle, if we're talking about 90 bed,
Right.
3 bedrooms and 30 units, if you put 200 bedrooms up there, that's a huge difference. It's not gonna pass. It's because y'all still gonna have the right to approve or disapprove whatever somebody come back on that list. Is that correct?
Well, unless it meets all of the
Yeah.
recommendations and it goes on the consent
So
agenda.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, I'm sorry.
Unless it meets all of the qualifications of an R4.
Right.
And it goes on the consent agenda, in which case we have no option to reconsider,
But,
correct?
Yeah, or if it, like they could build, if it's R4, you could build an apartment without having to go through planning commission. It just depends. There's some things that they could build on this property with a rezoning and now that wouldn't have to come to you guys for approval.
So not everything.
but we'd have to go through an LDP.
LDP process.
Yeah. so
Definitely would have to go through the LDP.
You get us one way or the other. You either get us on the front end or the back end. There's no way to slide through an apartment complex, and that's not our intention.
So the main
Or
thing
an
is we
animal
don't,
shelter, though.
Mr. Chairman, we don't
You
know.
build one animal shelter there, right?
Right. So the main thing is we don't know the car count on 25th or the speeds in which they're traveling, okay? So we don't know if we're going to be creating a danger. Is that the bottom line?
Traffic, backing up traffic.
So, but, it's been years, obviously I know the road, but it could be that it comes back and says, there's not enough traffic and it won't stack them up and it's fine. But I guess that's an investment maybe that you don't want to make, or are they expensive, or is that? Is that
It
a
sounds
possi-
like everything is hindering this traffic study, essentially. So I personally think the easiest thing would be just wait until the traffic study, which is what we requested initially, but you guys wanted to move forward without waiting for the traffic study, and I know y'all probably have your own deadlines that you're trying to meet on the property.
To my knowledge, that just came up October 4th, maybe. That's the first my knowledge of it. And I sat in 2 meetings at city, and a traffic study, to my knowledge, was not discussed. I may have forgotten something, but I don't remember it being discussed, because we came up here the last time, and the reason why we didn't vote that night was because there were 2 people here from the neighborhood who had a problem with the connecting to the neighborhood. And we told them we didn't really want that, and they didn't want that, but this body suggested that's basically what we need to do, because there's a road connecting there, and that we needed to connect, whether it's from staff or from y'all's or collective agreement upon that. And so that's all we're trying. I'm just trying to appease everybody and make it work. And, I don't have a problem coming off First Street Northeast going straight through the project. As a matter of fact, it probably would save me a lot of money. But I was trying to, connect, have the integrity of that new subdivision kind of separate from what was adjoining it, because they didn't want it and we didn't want it. But if it needs to be, I don't have a problem putting a road right to there. It's a city right of city street. It's a public street, so I can't be denied to tie into it. So, I don't know, I don't really get the gist of whatever we're trying to, the problem, I see what you're talking about, we could do something else. But again, Ms. Prince, if we can't, so if myself or somebody else came in, another developer came in behind us, bought it from us or whatever, they would have to come to this body to get approval through an LDP. I mean, I don't know if they'd have to come through here, but they'd have to go through the planning and zoning LDP.
Well,
And it's a whole lot tougher than coming up here.
All right, hold that thought a second, Mark.
Okay.
Can you go back to that list? I'm sorry, one more time. I mean, it could be maybe a nuisance, there could be a nuisance use that doesn't require a traffic issue. I'm not sure.
We can't have a mobile home park in Tuscaloosa city limits, I didn't think.
I guess. Looks like you could put the animal shelter there. I mean, you know, I guess, I mean, that might be a good example. You can put the animal shelter there and have a bunch of barking dogs and create a nuisance, but it may not create a lot of traffic. That might be something that we may or may not approve. Is that fair enough? I mean, I'm just pulling one out of the hat.
That wouldn't come before us.
I know, that's what I'm saying, that we would be automatically approving something. I'm trying to look at the ones that we would be scared of. Yeah, you can't, I don't, do you not just want to do a traffic study, Mark, or is it?
Well, I mean, I don't mind doing it, but I keep getting kicked down the curb, and we've been up here and we've had two,
Well, for the record, you're gonna have to do a traffic study, correct, staff? That's gonna have to be done.
Okay, but, you know.
For the LDP.
I know, but at the LDP, but I mean, do it all at the same time, and, you know, because that's gonna, the engineering work's gonna kind of combine in with that traffic study. I mean, they're gonna have to do the traffic study before they do the LDP, is what I'm saying. And it's just, we keep coming back, but to my knowledge, and y'all correct me if I was wrong, I do not remember being told that we had to have a traffic study done prior to Mr. Hicks telling me October the 4th, I guess, 10 days ago. And I called Mr. Skipper and asked him, he was going by and look at it. He says, but I may have a problem because I might have a conflict of interest. And I hadn't heard from him, so he's ghosted me. Nice man, but he didn't call me back, and I didn't beat him over the brow to call him back myself. I gave him Mr. Hicks' information, and, you know, but we have not heard. So I don't know what the deal is. Supposedly, he's trying to do a contract with the city. So
Mark, Zach, Mark said something interesting. He said he has the right to hook into the connector. All right, would that be only if he was doing something within the zoning, or in other words, he doesn't have a right to hook into it because he's asking for a rezoning? Is that the catch there?
If he didn't go through a subdivision, he could have his driveway, or I don't know, actually, that'd probably be an
He could
engineering
connect.
question.
He could connect if it was.
Yeah, he could connect to it, to a certain extent.
Make a
It's an
good
extension
driving
of the right-of-way.
I mean,
You know, Indian Hills has one way in on one end and two ways out the other. I could see where maybe the traffic guy says, look, maybe they can only come in one way through the neighborhood. Maybe they don't want traffic both ways. I could see where the traffic guy might make some recommendations, but it sounds like they're going to require it anyway. You're saying that you're going to require it in other words, for us to even vote on it. So, I mean, do you just vote on it contingent on that, or are you
We're
saying?
gonna put a contingent that the traffic study is required at the LDP level. We're just putting it on the record that
yeah,
everybody
that's fine.
knows.
I mean, I don't have a problem
It's gotta
with
be done. He didn't have a choice about that.
So in other words, we could vote to approve it, and the staff would vote to turn it down.
Yeah.
that. That'd be a first.
Or they can make a recommendation to
Yeah.
the city council. Does this go to the council?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, we just want to be, you know, we want to do something nice out there. I mean, these are nice townhomes. I mean, I've got guys on the golf team that want to live there because they can ride their golf cart to play golf every day. I mean, you know, that's what we kind of want. We see it as being a mix between some students, some golf players, men and women on the golf team, people that want to have a game day house, that don't want to have want to be right in downtown, because, you know, you don't want to be right on campus. If you've been there, it's not fun on a game day. You want to be close, but not that close. I think you understand, Ms. Horsley, don't you?
What I'm hearing is that you may, or I can't speak for anybody else, but if you don't have all votes tonight, then you don't get to do the, in other words, one person doesn't vote for the for the
The
rezone.
subdivision requires all of
Oh.
y'all to say yes, I believe.
Is it?
Subdivision or the rezoning?
Subdivision.
Right.
And then the rezoning is a recommendation to council. Y'all could recommend, it could be 3-2 or whatever, 3-3.
So it's just majority?
No, it's just, it's whatever it is
Rezoning.
on the rezoning, that goes to council,
Goes to council with our recommendation.
or not. They'll give the vote count, right?
Yeah. Yeah, even if you don't, even if you recommend denial, it still can go to council.
Yeah, he still got a right to go to council.
Yeah.
Yeah, on really both of them. Well, no, subdivision.
Subdivision is just you
That's
guys.
right, but,
Subdivision's ours.
but they'll hear our comments about subdivision,
Okay, you got me confused.
but don't worry about it. We're all,
Okay, that's all I
thank you. All right, I think we've beat this round pretty good. Unless I want to ask any final questions to staff before we tackle this. All right, Commission, before us, we have a companion case, the first being rezoning of Z1623, the rezoning of the parcel from R2 to R4. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion?
Second.
All right, Mr. Rumsey?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. 4-2. All right, Commissioners, we have the subdivision S7023 Presidential Village. We have one variance for the lot configuration. We do want to go on the record stating that being consistent with our policy of this body, we want to ask that as part of the traffic study, if the First Street Avenue Northeast could be connected. Staff good with that language? Okay. Commission good with that language? Do I have a sec, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Ms. Hare?
Yes.
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 Yes. Good luck. All right, we got
Maneuver that one.
we got 19 minutes.
Oh, have you?
All right, next up, we have our second companion case. It consists of an annexation, PUD, and PUD subdivision. We'll start with that annexation, which is to annex approximately 40.5 acres located at 4500 Cypress Creek Avenue East. Here's the vicinity map. Shaded in yellow are the existing city limits. We've highlighted it in red, the parcels that they're requesting to annex in. It is just east of the Walmart Supercenter along Skyland, south of Skyland. Here's an aerial overview of the parcels in question. And this is for a proposed single-family residential development that we'll get into looking through the PUD case. This is identified as a primary expansion area, and there were no issues from all applicable departments. ESD did state that they'll provide all services. Looking at the PUD, we have P0423. This is Cypress Creek Cove. It's a planned unit development consisting of 102 single-family residential lots and 3 open space lots on approximately 40.5 acres located at 4500 Cypress Creek Avenue East. And we are in the same area. And again, this is for 102 single-family lots. The proposed setbacks are to have a 25-foot front yard, 25 in the rear, and 5 on either side, 5 feet. The lot sizes are ranging, smallest is 6,500 square feet, and the largest was roughly around 28,000 square feet. So you've got a good range of home sizes. The home size ranges are from 1 to 2 stories, 1,300 to 2,500 square feet. Starting prices are around the mid 200,000s to the low 300,000s, using hardy board as the material. Here's the site. This is along Cypress Creek. And then there is a one-way as well that will lead you there. And here is the vacant land. Then looking at the plan itself, they have 3 points of access. The northernmost point is that one-way street that we just saw, turning right off of Skyland. It'll take you down and bring you to this one-way, or you can access 2 points along Cypress Creek on the right side of your screen. They plan to do this in 2 phases. Here's the northern portion, coming in off of that one-way as a right turn in, a right turn out. They have the walking path shown as well.
Are you drawing on the board? I'm looking for
I'm not. Do you want me to?
No,
Is there-
You're saying it, I'm looking for where
Oh,
you're
right
talking.
up here. There'll be a right in. I'm trying to draw. Right out.
Okay.
And then walking path starting through, it's not wanting to work. There we go. Through this way. Then looking at the southern portion, we have some of our smaller single-family lots going along the western side of this development. Larger or more towards the center with that interior cul-de-sac. Sidewalks throughout as well. Here are some elevations of what those could and would look like. Second-story home is on the left side of the screen. And a playground for part of their proposed amenity space. They have planned a playground as well as walking trails throughout this development. This does not fully conform to Framework. Framework identified this as multifamily residential. So this being a single-family residential, it's a decreased density for the area. And that future land use character map surrounded by multifamily as well. And then going through the subdivision, we did just take a good look at those lots, but we can go through it again really quickly. 102 single-family residential lots, 3 open space. There is a school just south of this, right off of Cypress Creek Avenue. It's an elementary school. Here's the aerial and that site plan again. The developer is requesting variances from half-street improvements as well as sidewalks along Cypress Creek Avenue. On the eastern side of Cypress Creek, there are some sidewalks already in place, so they're requesting the variance from developing them along their portion along the western side of Cypress Creek. Do you have any questions for staff?
Engineering on the variance request?
So if you read the notes there below, we've had conversations and they are prepared, they're in the process of getting us a traffic study on this project as well. And he has a statement there that any half-street improvements that are recommended by the traffic study, they agree to do.
I would be surprised if he's not, doesn't have to build half-street improvements on Cypress Creek.
Again, I think left turns are one of the key things that would be an outcome of this study. But yeah, there's other options as well. It could be a right turn decel to get the vehicles out of the through lanes.
Mike, I guess the other question was the sidewalks, if he's not being improved, if he's getting the various half-street improvements, and we've got sidewalks, there's school, you said something about the schools close?
So there's a sidewalk on the west side of Cypress Creek today.
There it already. Okay.
Yes, and if we put sidewalks on the east side it's on the east side today. If we add sidewalks to the west side, there's nowhere for it to connect. Right. And then we're gonna prompt mid-block crossings, basically is the terminology. So I'm okay with not adding a sidewalk since there's one already on the east side.
Now, hold on a minute. So, but we go back to that policy. Does it meet we have that policy, if you're a certain distance from a park or a school, we said it didn't matter.
Unless in the past, what we've done, and we've done a lot of this around American Christian Academy, where we did a lot of developments. It made no sense. It actually was a hindrance with those sidewalks and everything. They were going nowhere.
Yeah, well, but that discussion led that, in 50 years, so the lots on either side get redeveloped, and because we didn't do it this time, then those will lead to nowhere. So it's somewhere we said within a certain radius of a school, and we're just gonna do it. Now, how far are we?
Yeah, well, as Mr. Gardner stated, the
But if they're-
safety issue is really what we talked about with the ACA and with this property as well. You're encouraging people to cross the street in the middle of the street with no real
But
crossing
there is
area.
sidewalks on one side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
there's sidewalk on the other side.
So there are sidewalks to get, all right.
Yeah, and for that proximity, I'm not 100% sure just how close it is to the school, but also Cypress Creek Avenue, the classification of the road also triggers the sidewalk need. So that's another reason why they're asking for those here.
Mike, one other comment I've got, and I guess it's 44th Street East being a
Yes.
the intersection of Cypress Creek and 44th, will the traffic study obviously look at this in sight distances and all?
It'll address it.
I mean, but you got only one corner that's developed. Because the other corners are private property. Or the other corner on the north of 44th Street. I've been down this road and the sight distance is pretty bad right there turning out.
Well, one of the things that we've asked them to do is to look at the condition of that road and address that. And also, we've set a minimum paving width, that they've got to do some, if it's needed, they need to do some improvements on 44.
Anything else? Thank you. Petitioner.
Good evening, Tom Sams, Longleaf Engineering. Ms. Haley did a pretty good job there. I'd like to point out real quick while we're talking about it, just to be clear, Cypress Creek Avenue currently already has curb and gutter, has a sidewalk on one side of the street. We agreed with Mike in our pre-discussions that, you know, if the traffic study says we need turn lanes and that sort of thing, we'll do all necessary, excuse me, all necessary half-street improvements to bring those into compliance. So we weren't trying to get out of it. They just already exist. It's already an improved roadway. But we'll make any modifications necessary if that traffic study says we need to do some decel lanes, left turn lanes, what have you. As far as the one-way access up on 44th Street, there's another point of discussion that we had with staff. We felt like it was a good idea just to have it for a secondary sort of emergency access point, even though it's one way. We obviously have good ingress, egress out on Cypress Creek Avenue in two different locations. We had the option, I guess, to cul-de-sac that out if we felt it was more reasonable to do so. But after talking with staff, it just seemed like it was prudent to have that sort of emergency access. Being a one-way, we don't think it'll have a lot of traffic, obviously, and we did agree to do some minimum widening on that roadway as needed. Otherwise, I think the property sat there, you know, for a pretty good time, and it is surrounded by multifamily, so we're thinking a single family phase here, you know, may not be match exactly what's there, but it's still probably pretty good for the area. It's actually bordered on the north by commercial, so the multifamily to the south also is sort of bisected by the creek that runs through there. So there's not really a good, I guess, a natural connection point. There's a separation and a divide there already. This property also has a nice feature with a pond on it. Developer plans to clean that up, create the open space to sort of integrate that walking trail and playground and all in that area. So all in all, I think it's pretty good layout for these guys.
Remind me, is the one-way going in?
It's going towards Cypress Creek Avenue.
Goes that way. We'll have right in, right out.
What all is the access on 44th? It's behind the commercial. That's access off of Skyline Boulevard. Can you bring us a map of that, of the area where just people? Okay. So the 21st Avenue is the access to 44th, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
There is a warehouse, I believe, there on 44th that appears to be accessed off of 44th, just north of our development. Otherwise, most of those commercial buildings you see there that front Skyline do not have access back there.
Any questions for petitioner? I know we did have somebody sign up for this case.
There you go. Mr. Michael Valentine, we'll get you back up here again today. Right there.
Now it's your turn.
For real.
I'm the building I'm the building you spoke of on 44th Street, the commercial.
Name and address for the record.
Michael Valentine, 2310 44th Street East. We have a service business there on 44th Street. We're the only one that actually accesses 44th Street. I wanted clarification. I see one of the entrances to the subdivision is directly in front of our building. Several years ago, we called the county and made that a one-way road because everybody likes to take a shortcut and hit Cypress Creek. So they're speeding. It's not lit except for a pole we put out. That entrance right in front of our building, I really am not for or against that, but there needs to be stop signs. It's already a dangerous road anyway. If they widen it, it'd be a great place for a stop sign because we have service vehicles going in and out all day long. And quite honestly, if I was going to put a couple thousand in a home, I wouldn't want it viewing my building, a metal building. But I'm not against them putting something right there.
Which one is yours, sir?
The the metal building,
His building is right where they're turning out.
there's a entry right on 44th Street, and right in front of that is our building.
I think, yeah, that building.
That's it right there on
Just one.
44th. Just the one, right?
Just the one.
Just the one
We're the only
small
one that
lot.
serves on that road. So I imagine you add a couple hundred cars in that neighborhood, they're gonna take that one entry.
Right. Well, there you go.
There you go.
So I just want to get some clarification as to what the street's going to look like when there are improvements done. And also, we work from that building every day, so would it impede our ability to do business there? And lastly, we are in the city limits. The property across the streets in the county, we don't have water or sewer. This would be a great time to be able to stub out so we could connect to water and sewer. So I don't know how I approach that matter or who I go to talk to about that.
That'd be a question. Since you are annexed into the city, we'll be getting city services. I guess that's more of a engineering question about what we'll be adding or what.
Do you not have water today?
No, I have a well. Well, when we bought the property, it had a water heater, a utility sink, a full bathroom. But because years ago they split that property up, our meter is served off of Skyland. Well, when they started dividing the property, I guess it shut off our meter. We don't have the service.
So I would encourage you, I think the closest water and sewer is gonna be a part of what this development ends up putting in. I don't have our network here to look at. But
A little white.
the simple answer to your question is if you need water and sewer, it is up to the landowner to extend it at their expense. We don't run sewer or water to you at our cost. That would be your burden to bear.
Mike, I guess the question I'd have, maybe Tom can answer this question. When they go to develop this property, they're obviously going to be putting the infrastructure in for water and sewer.
Yeah, so that was the point I was
At
making
that
is,
point,
you
once
know,
we know that, there's got to be some closer connection point for him
and
to.
if there's a contractor out there already working, then maybe y'all can work out something to get you a water line. You don't need a big one, to get you a water line there at a minimum. Sewer may be a little more of a challenge because it's typically, it's going to flow by gravity where water's under pressure.
Well, there's going to be a house on this proposal 40 feet from my building.
Yeah, so I guess he's somewhat doing you a favor if you want those services, getting it closer to you.
All right. Okay. Well, that's all I had, other than just getting clarification as to the neighborhood opening right in front of my building. So is that an option to change that around, or what kind of safety measures are going to be put there so we can continue to do business on that property?
One of the things the LDP will do, require an LDP for this process, and they'll look at the traffic access and egress and make sure that they're not impeding yours. If they are, they will have to do that, have to fix that at some point during this design, during the work. But as far as the water and sewer, you got your answer on that.
Okay.
But I mean, like you said, the water's gonna be available close thereof, maybe you can work a deal or something.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Sims, you want to come back and maybe address a few things, or you don't have to, but
Sure, just briefly, we of course would be more than happy to work with him to get some connections, and yes, we'll be bringing water and sewer very close to his property, so that'd be pretty easy to do during the construction phase, so, we'll
As
trade
long as you're
information.
communicating, I think. it'll be
right,
fine.
yeah, that's,
Yes.
Mr. Valentine, we do encourage when there's developers and neighbors, we try to get them to work together, and so I think Mr. Sims is very amicable to working with you on all this, and back to the stop sign, the ingress, egress point off that property. Traffic study is going to help us clarify that, and like Vice Chair was saying, I believe we can help you have peace of mind to operate your business. Agree, Mr. Sims?
Yes, sir.
Even with the, when you extend the road 30 feet, is that gonna bother us going in and out?
Yeah, we'll certainly make sure that we don't cause you any problems with ingress, egress. And we will address that with staff and the traffic and all too, but we can stay in communication. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else care to speak for or against these petition requests? Okay, having heard none, Commission, before us, we have an annexation request, 1823, annexing 40 acres at 4500 Cypress Creek Avenue East. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, welcome to the city. Commission, before us, we have P 0423 Cypress Creek Cove Plan Unit Development consisting of 102 single-family residential lots.
Motion approved.
Got a motion?
Second.
Ms. Hare?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes, motion approved. Commission, have for us PS 6923 Cypress Creek Cove. Two variance requests, half-street improvement sidewalks along Cypress Creek Avenue East. All those will be addressed, and engineering has no issues with, but they will be addressed during the traffic study as well. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion approved.
Second.
Mr. Rumsey?
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, motion approved. All right, let's hammer through these preliminary plats. We've got a few more minutes to have a quarrel.
Yep. All right. Preliminary plats for the evening. We have S6623. This is the resurvey of Lot 1 of 1400 13th Street. It's consisting of two residential lots on approximately 0.75 acres located at 1400 13th Street in Council District 4. Here's the vicinity map. It's just southwest of Evergreen Cemetery along 13th Street in between Queen City and 12th. Here's the aerial overview. And here is that plat with contours. This is a two-lot subdivision. All buildings on site are existing. They are doing this to consolidate Lot 2 in order to preserve, it's an existing historic home. They would like to put that on its own lot so that they're able to preserve and maintain this historic home separate from the townhome-style apartment development on the same lot. And here's subdivision without contours. And they are requesting a variance from lot configuration, lot size, and lot width. They did get variance approval from the Zoning Board of Adjustment for lot size as well as lot width. The structures are existing, and they aren't planning on them going anywhere. The lot configuration is due to requiring 2 off-street parking spaces per lot. Any questions for us?
Engineering?
We have no issues with those requests.
Thank you. Any questions, staff? Petitioner?
Commissioner, I'm Robert Martin, excuse me, with Duncan Coker Associates. The purpose of this subdivision is the property owner was approached by an individual wanting to purchase the historic home in order to preserve it. So this abnormal lot line is necessary to incorporate our off-street parking on the proposed Lot 2. As Haley said, we were granted a variance from ZBA for lot width and lot size. This is just simply to create a new lot line so that Lot 2 can be sold. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for petitioner? Haven't heard none, thank you. No One has signed up for, but anyone care to speak for or against? Having heard none, Commission, before us, we have S 6623, resurvey of Lot 1, 1413th Street.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Hare?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion approved.
All right, next we have S 6723. This is Moton Court number 3, a resurvey of lots 5 through 9, Block A. It's consisting of one single-family residential lot on approximately .42 acres located at 3322 19th Street. This is in Council District 1. Here's the vicinity map. It's south of 15th Street, southwest of West Lawn Middle School, and north of Martin Luther King Elementary. Here's an aerial overview of the two lots. Here's a plat with contours and without. This is to clean up some remnant lot lines that run between two lots. They'd like to consolidate all of them into one, which is what we see on the screen. And then they're requesting a variance from sidewalks.
Engineering?
We have no issues with those requests.
Thank you. Petitioner?
Kevin Hinkle with Montgomery and Hinkle, Inc., 203 Harger Road East, representing the petitioner. Staff did an excellent job. They're cleaning up the lot lines, and it should, within reason for the structures that are already on it, but be very conforming to what planning has desired for this area.
Anyone care to speak for or against? Having heard none, Commission, we have S 6723, Moton Court number 3, resurvey. One variance request, sidewalks, engineering has issues with. Do I have a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Rumsey?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes?
Yes, motion approved. Last case.
All right, we do have one street vacation request. This is V0423. This is to vacate a 6-foot alley located between 1422 7th Street and 1409 6th Street. This is in Council District 4. Here's the vicinity map. Right in between 7th and 6th, Gene Stallings just to the east. And here is that little alley. And here's the exhibit showing the alley. And asking all applicable departments if they had issue. This is their response. And this was the attached comment from Alabama Power. There seemed to be no issue. Okay.
All right. Petitioner? Is there?
Steve McPherson, 4210 Vassy Drive, private practice land survey. Here for on the benefit of Clay Martin, attorney in Huntsville. He owns the lot 20, and the portion that was not vacated in what was the original resurvey of the Miss A.S. Prince Place is the only part that we had left there that connects into this. And he didn't have any problem with the power or anything, so.
All right. Any questions for petitioner? Thank you. All right, Commission, for us to have a vacation request is 0423. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, motion approved. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting is adjourned.
Good job.
All right, we did it pretty close.
Yes, we did.